I think the gentleman we're bringing on tonight, maybe this is his fourth time coming on an activation Zoom, and every time it's just supercharged. And I've had the privilege of hosting the apartment rock star every single time. Ladies and gentlemen, he's got $600 million of assets under management. And one thing that I appreciate besides, the gentleman that we're bringing on tonight, his ability to execute and that nothing will stand in his way, is his transparency and care for those on his team and others in the space that are willing to take action as well. He's a family man and he's been a supporter of the Freedom Chasers community from the get-go. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like for all of us to give a warm welcome to the apartment rock star, Mr. Robert Martinez. Robert, welcome. Welcome back,
Hey,
I should
man.
say.
Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Let me stop my screen share and let's get you spotlighted. And I'm excited to dive in since the last time we had a chance to talk. So I'm going to add my pin right here, and you and I can share center stage. Robert, great to see you. Thanks for being with. How have you been overall?
Man, it's been good. It's been we're living in Houston, and it's if it's not one thing, it's another. This is the most ridiculous season I've ever experienced, and maybe you guys are experiencing wherever you all live as well. But the weather doesn't make sense. We just coming off a hurricane where
Yep.
there's still about 400,000 people without power. I've got 19 communities that are in the greater Houston area, and at the worst, to
Updating
live through
calendar.
that.
There we go.
It's something else to live through that and have to like organize your teams and get everybody ready. Because when you're running a portfolio of 4,600 units, you have to think about your residents. There's no let me take care of myself. This is like, what do I need to do to provide power? What do I need to do to provide power for my teams, for my the people that are at the sites every day? Some of them don't even have power. For the first time ever, I opened up my models, my leasing models. I'm a big leasing model guy. You got to have a controlled unit in every property. And for the first time, I opened those up for my staff so they had somewhere to go at night. After working all day long, they have to go back to, their hot house or their hot apartment. For those units that had, for those communities that had a leasing model with air conditioning, we opened those up for our teams just so they have somewhere to cool off at night. And then for our residents, we did our best to get generators and at least get the leasing office going so they can use it as a charging station, so our teams can be somewhere they can be cool, comfortable, and try to maintain order. But I'll tell you what, it's really difficult to collect rent and lease apartments in this kind of conditions.
Mm-hmm. Is there a light at the end of the tunnel, Robert? I know that thoughts and prayers have been going out for all the residents of Houston in light of the hurricane. I mean, is there a light at the end of the tunnel where kind of everybody can resurface and come back to normal?
I mean, today was the first day that our corporate office was open. We
Okay.
shared with a bank. I thought banks weren't allowed to be closed for more than 3 days, and they broke that rule. We lost power a week ago Monday or on the weekend, and weren't able to get back into the office today. So now that we're in the office today, we're able to all get together again. It reminds me of why I don't like remote from home. You can't do that. I'm not a big remote from home guy. I never will be. I think you lose so much of camaraderie, culture, teamwork. I see Jason from our company. He's our investor relations manager. He's on the call with us. He'll tell you that. I mean, they were shacking up at one of our properties that had power and trying to work there, and it's not the same thing as being at the office, being with me, being with each other, and getting into this. So it's certainly something that's difficult to go through. Again, 3 of our properties are still without power. I mean, it's really God in God's hand. We'll have to figure out whenever Center Point's able to bring the power on. Whatever you heard. Trevor, are you to Jason?
Mm-hmm. It got a little
Okay, well,
choppy
maybe.
there at the end, Robert. What did
Oh,
you
I'm
say?
sorry. I don't mean to be. Yeah. I was just saying. I was. I don't really know what the latest is on what Center Point's going to do. Jason, have you been following the news? Jason's our investor relations manager. He's on the call with us. Jason, do you have any idea of when Center Point's going to restore power for all of Houston?
So I think they are working on it because they released this power restoration map. And it's interesting because on the map, it does show that City Crossing and some of those other properties should be energized already, but it may look like there's still some minor delays. So hopefully soon, at least our properties are able to get back online. But
Yeah.
you know, they've been doing a lot to try to get everyone back online pretty quickly. So
You know, Trevor, it's hard enough when your family doesn't have power. I want to have power in my home. I went to a hotel for a couple of nights to make sure that we were covered. Almost was going to say a third night until the power came on, and so we're able to go home. But not everybody's that fortunate. There was a shortage of hotels in Houston. There was just chaos, and so you can't worry just about yourself. You got to worry about your team. You got 4,600 families that you're
Yep.
taking care of, and so that has to take priority. So everybody there listening, it's not just about like organizing a deal and signing on the dotted line. It's what happens after the ink dries, and you
Mhm.
got to be on top of it.
Yep, that's right. That's right. And that's one of the things that I want our audience to note about you right off the bat, Robert, is how much you care about the team at Rockstar Capital and how much you care about your tenants. And that's been from what I see in walking properties with you and hearing about your experience and had a chance to interview you multiple times here on the Freedom Chasers, that is a factor in your recipe of success for sure. And I think I'd like to unpack a little bit of your backstory,
Mm.
Robert, if that's okay. We've had a lot of people roll into our
Sure.
community that hadn't had a chance to hear, your evolution. So I think maybe if we can start really quickly, I like the context of right before you started your multifamily journey. So if you could elaborate a little bit more on that, what exactly you were doing before you actually broke into the multifamily space.
Listen, I'm not any more special than anybody else. I probably had the same kind of upbringing you did. My father worked fast food. I did that for 45 years. My mother worked for Levi's and Hager's and other big factories like that before losing those jobs to Mexico during NAFTA. So their mission for me, my first mentors was go to school and get good grades. And I'm sure you've heard that from all your mentors and all your
That's right.
families. So I did my very best. I went to Texas A&M University. I graduated with an engineering degree, and here I am thinking, okay, I'm going to go out there into the real world. I like numbers. I like sales, so I did both. I'm an engineer, but I also can have a little bit of a personality, and I can speak to people.
Hmm.
And so I did that, and I thought, okay, well, that's going to be my plan. And my next group of mentors were like Susie Orman and Dave Ramsey and people like that. Until I one day stumbled upon business radio in my late 20s, early 30s, um, trying to see, trying to keep up with everything. And my thought process got completely shattered. I was introduced to multifamily real estate through a guy on a radio show on business radio. So I showed up to his class, his free Thursday night event where they gave you a couple tickets and you get some free drink and you get to sit there and shake hands and kiss babies and network with other people. That Saturday, I paid $500 to go to a 2-day seminar. By Saturday night, I thought, oh wow, I'm going to do single family houses. I've never learned anything about single family. My parents, the only real estate we owned was the house that we grew up in, and that my parents had owned since 1980. Nothing else. Their only retirement vehicles was their 401ks, which my
Hmm.
my my dad's company at
Yep.
Whataburger matched, and that was it. Going into that real estate club, I learned a lot about the rest of the world. I got introduced into multifamily, and by Sunday, I was like, "Oh, I'm hooked." And I'm not going to just do single family. I'm going to do multifamily. I want to do this. I want to
Yes.
take advantage of the depreciation and the tax deferral situation. I want to be able to have control, and that's what I saw. I saw an opportunity to take control of my life because up until that point, I didn't have control. My boss did. My boss determined how much I made. He determined, everything that's relevant. So I'm doing my number crunching. I have like a little spreadsheet. I'm like, okay, talking to my wife at the time, thinking, okay, by this age we can have this much. By this age we can have this much, and then we can retire. And that
Hmm.
was it. And it encompassed stock market investing, stocks and bonds. I mean, that's what it was. To be able to learn something like investing in the multifamily sounded so exotic to me. It sounded so
Yeah.
unbelievable that I could do so. I could own that building. I could own that 100 units over there.
Uh-huh.
And I did that from 2007 when I joined to 2010. I had a partner he and I amassed 2,000 units together. Like in any partnership, it starts and it ends. Um, and mine ended with him right at the end of 2010. So in the beginning of 2011, I went off on my own, took my experience, started a Rockstar. GP. I've never had a GP partner. Raised on my track record, 184 7,000 units during that time. Today, we have around 4,600 units. We've returned over $100 million of investor capital. And I'm going to tell you, this is the craziest market I've ever seen right now. This is has fades of 2008, 2009 all over again. And so it's about, but except this time, I'm not the guy taking advantage of other people's miseries. I'm the one that's living the misery. And I have to now try to do my best to navigate those waters. And so it's been full circle for me, but I love what I do. I have my own property management company. It's well respected. We have 19 city, state, national apartment association awards. I personally am considered one of the best operators in the country. And I've been crowned National Apartment Association Owner of the Year twice. To my knowledge, the only person to ever win that award twice. And my 5-year window to cool off has ended. So I'm going to be going for number 3 in 2025.
Let's go. I love that. I love that. I want to go back to your story, Robert, and I want to talk about breaking into the space. And you jumped to essentially, maybe we call it an education or mentorship program. You know, we'll just classify that for the sake of just the story. And that'll get you in proximity, but it doesn't guarantee you breaking into the space. And so what would be your advice to aspiring multifamilies out there that have maybe gained some level of proximity to the space, but they haven't quite broken in yet? And what can they learn from your story? And then looking back on that, what would be your advice to them today?
You know, I was very fortunate. I joined a pretty well-known outfit in Houston for real estate mentorship, and they had a large audience. So I never learned the necessary skills that I think I've learned since leaving them in 2019. I was with them from 07 to 19, and that's networking. You've got to be where everybody else is at. You got to be around the deals. If your 5 friends are not doing what you want to do, you need a different group of 5 friends. Because if all your friends are millionaires, guess what? You will be a millionaire too.
That's right.
If your friends like to hang out and do barbecues in the weekend and they just talk about their everyday stuff, that's what you're going to do. You've got to get out of that. You've got to be around people that are like-minded and that talk about this stuff every day. And I remember when I joined that real estate club, one of the first required readings was Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And what's really interesting is that I had read that book just coming out of college. It made on a college trip home for the holidays. Made no sense to me. Literally threw it out the window.
Wow.
But yet here it is. Fast forward to 2000 from whatever that was, 97 to 2007. When I'm in that club, it's required reading, and I read it, and it makes so much sense to me. Because my business maturity, right, and being on my own, being an adult, having worked in corporate America for 10 years, I understood what the book was trying to say. I've lived it. I understood the Rich Dad and Poor Dad advice. And being in that real estate club, it felt like the book had come alive. You know, so if you're in a club and you're in the smaller clubs like this, be in as many as you can. Get out there, hear what other people are doing, get excited, never be jealous. When someone's doing a deal, it's because they've just been doing it a little bit longer than you. They found something out. They found something to remove the fear. And so that's what this is about. You have to partner up, mentor up with people to help remove the fear out. Most guys that are in these 3, 4, 5-person GP teams, is because there's a fear that they can't do it alone. You got to be able to transition to where you just get confident. You get confident, and you get confident, and the next thing you know, you buy a deal, and then you go work it. You work it like it's your 20 acres and a mule. Like that or 100 acres and a mule. That's what you got to do. You got to put all your eggs in that basket, all your marbles in that bag, and you got to work it and never take your eye off of it. I didn't get here overnight with 4,600 units and 23 communities. This was a period of time slowly building it, and then when you get that confidence, you start to go bigger. Whether that's a velocity, buying more deals, or that's buying bigger deals. So it just takes time.
Yeah.
If I hadn't had my partner, I was with my partner from '07 to 2010, and it wasn't until 2010 before I personally was my own GP where I bought a deal. It took me 2 to 3 years of working with somebody else, getting myself dirty, boots on the ground to really feel confident that I can go and raise the capital. And just like then, like it is right now, investors are scared. It's a very scary market right now. I remember my first
Yeah.
deal, I was raising $1.5 million, Trevor, and it took me the best part of 60 days to do it.
60
You
days, you
know,
said?
it took me the best part of 60 days just to raise
Wow.
1.5 million on a deal where the average unit was 24,500 and rent was $600.
Wow.
It took that long because investors were scared. It was a very scary time in the market. Fast forward to our height in 21 and 22, when I'm raising money on my biggest deals, we raised 22 million in 45 days. We raised 18 million in 45 days. These were big deals that we were doing at the time. And it comes with a track record. You build yourself up to that. So just get in the game. Buy something 30, 40, 50 units where you can get a little bit of help for you have enough money to either hire a maintenance guy or hire a manager. And you don't need them to teach you the business. You need them to help you to be an extension of you. Never forget you're the one that is signing on the dotted line. Never forget you're the one that was able to put together the scratch and raise the equity to do this deal. So you got to trust yourself.
That's good. That's really good. Robert, what are your thoughts about it? Somebody, if they want to start in the space, looking in their backyard, and if their backyard maybe not isn't such a good market, prices are out of control, or maybe they're not in a landlord friendly area. What would your advice be there?
I would still buy the deal in my backyard because it's there, it's controllable, and you can do it. You can go there every day after work. You can go there every day during lunch. You can be there, but when you buy a deal that's away from home, it's harder. We have 23 deals and I worry about the 4 deals that are in South Texas. I had to spend money to hire a regional down there. The quality of my teams, I don't think is as good as the quality of my teams in Houston because they're not part of the culture, right? I can't promote from within there. So we've got it to where I have to bring them up at least once a month so that they share in the vision. It's not just being on the calls every day and sending asset managers or sending a regional there. It's I make them come to Houston so they can see the trophies in the lobby, so they can hear and feel and touch their neighbors, so they don't feel like the redheaded stepchild. I don't know if you know Gary Vaynerchuk, but he was a mentor of mine. I visited with him up once. And we were talking about this very subject. He said, dude, never buy out of town if you can. Always focus, always buy where you're at, where you can try to touch. Because the further you get away from the home base, the worse it's going to be. Everything starts to crumble.
That's good. That's really good advice. I love that. And then I think, so eventually on your journey, Robert, you were able to scale to the point where you had in-house property management, right? And then there came a point in time where you outsourced it and then you brought property management back in-house. Could you just unpack that development of the property management in-house, out of house, and then back in-house, and what were the reasonings behind those decisions?
In 2000, I always ran it myself, right? Like in the real estate club I was in, if you're going to raise that kind of money, and my partner the same, this is your full-time gig. So it was never part-time for me. Our first deal was about a 240 unit deal. And so I walked away from my day job. So I made that sacrifice and I was at the site every single day. I learned the business. I understood it every day. And I learned, I used to train sales teams, and that's all property management is just sales. It's extending customer service, whether it's on the front end trying to acquire a new lease or it's on the back end trying to save a renewal, because you make all your money in real estate when people renew, not when they move in.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's very important to understand that. So I think from 2007 to 22, I ran it myself. And in 2020, I lost 2 key people that had been with me from the very beginning. And it wasn't the same anymore. The mistake that I made is that when they left, a lot of things left in their head with them. And we didn't have our procedures. We didn't have a lot of things organized the way we should on some sort of shared drive. It was on somebody's computer or it was somebody's head. And so I would recommend all of y'all to make sure that when you get into this, whether it's your investor database or your policies and procedures, you have it understood, as you have it documented and it's there. I think when they left, the business got very hard for me. I didn't have that core group to rely on like I once did, and they got hard. So like, you know what? Here's another thing. I started talking to Grant Cardone. I started following these other guys, and they were growing big. Um, Grant made the recommendation to use the management company that he was using. I was like, you know what? It's working for Grant. It'll work for me. And I'm going to tell you what, that was the worst advice thing I've ever gotten from anybody. I actually paid Grant for that advice. And it was tragic that it played out the way it did, because that management company nearly bankrupt me. They
Wow.
will never, a third party management company will never ever care about an investment the way you will. And so I never missed a distribution payment from when I started Rockstar 2011 to 2022. But during that cycle for a year of having that third party management company, again, same time, the economics of the market's changing with higher interest rate, higher property insurance, some tax movement, but it ate up our cash flow. I had to resume management myself. I fired them a year after bringing them on, actually 11 months after bringing them on. Had to migrate the entire portfolio back, which was a challenge in itself. Had to restaff, because technically at that time they're not my staff anymore. They belong to the management company. So I had to try to do a dog and pony show to bring them back. But I will honestly say, next to joining real estate, taking my management back was the best decision I ever made, because I can control things. I can will things to happen. I can make it a priority. I can bring it to light, and we can make improvements. So I'm very happy, that 9 months into it, of working every day, very, very hard, staying late, sometimes to 8 or 9 o'clock at night at the office, we finally were able to turn the ship around, and we're able to start distributing cash back to our investors after, not distributing cash for a year. And August 1 will be our second quarter, which hopefully we'll be able to start distributing cash again. And so by that point, I think we're predicting that 13 of the 23 deals will be distributing cash back to the investors, which for them is their lifeblood. And then as the months go on, we'll start adding to that. But one of the reasons that I started my own management company was to have control of my future. And the fact that I gave it away, and I look back on this, blows me away that I was able to listen to somebody else. It may work for Grant Cardone. It didn't work for me.
Yeah.
It didn't work for me. What works for me is having control, like a vice grip on my business. And I run like my hair. I make sure that I'm aware of everything. If there's a meeting going on with somebody else, just today, Jason was in a meeting that I wasn't involved in. I go, hey, tell me, how did that meeting go? What was the topic of it? Because I want to know. I want to know to make sure that the people I put in positions are having the right kind of meetings.
So, Robert, as somebody's growing and scaling and they've been operating their own deals, both asset management and property management, is there ever a scenario where you would recommend, hey, you probably need to hire a third party, or would you just say, hey, keep the course, keep property management, asset management in-house for the long term?
I think I would always keep property management. I'd always keep your hand on that, because you can move numbers around. You can cut expenses on a dime. You can get rid of people as fast as you want. When you're relying on a third party company, you're relying on their process, their procedures, their HR. We struggled firing people when we were with them because they didn't want to do it. At Rockstar, it's very different now. I have a one strike policy. Typically, people have 90 days with me to spark it up. I better see a big difference between you and the guy that you just replaced. And typically, if I don't see it in 30 days, you're gone. Yeah. At the same time, I'm monitoring everybody. I can see the numbers. It's not emotional for me. It's black and white. So I can go out there and say, hey, you know what, Jay, it's not working anymore. Your numbers aren't here, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to make a change and be done with it. Wish them well, walk them out, right? Because it's like our lives are on the line right now. And when you're running with a third party management, they're not thinking about your life. They're thinking about their unemployment claims. They're thinking about liability issues. I'm not worried about that. I'll deal with that later on. I just know I have my ducks in a row. I'm performance driven. You didn't deliver performance. You got to go. Because I have investors with $184 million of their family, blood, sweat, and tears in my coffers, invest in these deals, and I'm not going to go in there with somebody substandard.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think, and I mentioned this earlier, just so everybody's aware, like one of the things that I really appreciate about Robert is his transparency on his successes and also his challenges as well. And I think one thing that would be helpful for the audience tonight, Robert, is in the midst of the challenging situations that you experienced over the last couple of years, I know that there had to be some hard conversations with investors. Could you talk about just interfacing with investors? Of course, it's easy to do on the good times, but even I would say elaborate a little bit more when it comes to having really tough conversations with them.
Mom and dad taught you a long time ago, right, that honesty is the best policy. And that's the truth. It's 100% the truth. Because when you lie or when you deceive, you don't remember it all. And we've all lied, we've all deceived somebody, we all, we forget. But when you stick to the truth, it shows, it comes off. I think investors realize that there's a lot of challenges. That's why they don't do it full time. They give you a piece of their financials to run it with them. So I think more or less they're understanding, but you never want to lie to your investors. You want to communicate. I have a thing that I like to say is that communication is the key to life. If you communicate with me and I communicate with you, chances are we're going to get to the finish line together. So when we started to have our struggles, we started to have our issues, we opened up communication. Something that I do today that I never had done before was, monthly investor updates. I used to do them quarterly. And when things were at their best, it was like semi-annually or just annually. Investors really didn't care as long as you were distributing cash. But when the cash stopped, that's when the questions start coming. And it's very important that you build that rapport and they see what you're going. So as we took back the portfolio, we increased our communication with our investors. We realized that they have other options. We realized that our credibility is taking a hit, maybe the last year since the distributions ended. So we have to just open it up and allow them to see and be very transparent on sorry, mosquito, on what's going on and let them know the wins and let them know the losses. Hey, we're working on this. Hey, we're struggling. So every month, sometime between the 25th and the 1st, we have a portfolio wide meeting and we talk about every single deal. We rank them, our top third, our middle third, and our bottom third. In case you don't know, your portfolio average is all of them. So whatever's at the bottom third is going to drive your business. So we put a lot of emphasis on our bottom third. I do my very best to lead those meetings, like I do all the meetings, but have the competency to know the deal, to understand the struggles, to give the presentation myself, not rely on others. And because the investors, they didn't give the money to Jason, they didn't give the money to my other people, they gave the money to me.
Yeah.
Right. The last thing they want, and that's where I think were a little upset, is that when I went to third party, that disappointed them. Because that's not what they were accustomed to. That's not what they were led to believe. So we had to take back the portfolio. And guess what? As you start to put your eyeballs on everything and people see that you're struggling, there's still disappointments there, and it's going to stay for a little bit. But what turns that around is when you start putting money in their pocket. And as they see the track, as they see that person that they remember, they can see the experience come to life on the screen. They hear your different ideas. There's an expression, necessity is the mother of invention. I am way better an operator today than what I was the last 5 years. Way better.
Wow.
I've had to find things. You have to dig deep in yourself when you're struggling through this economy, and how to find ways to produce income, how to find ways to produce NOI, because that's what it's. We woke up one day and something that we paid $20 for is worth $17 the next day, and we didn't do anything wrong. Now you double that up and you have slow rent growth, you have rising taxes, rising insurance, rising valuation. Now it's not even worth 17, now it's worth 15 or 14, and that's very scary for a lot of people. So you have to find ways to turn that around. The very formula that we use to make all the money that we've made. I've returned 100% of the money back to my investors on 15 different investments, 15 times. And that same formula of wealth success was used against me when all the expenses came in and I had nowhere to go. My income was falling at the same time. And now the cap rates changed from 4 or 5% to like a 6 or a 7. And so everything's upside down. I use the expression, you know, for overnight, water wasn't wet and the sky wasn't blue anymore. And we had to like dig through. So we got very creative on NOI boosters and things that we can do internally to basically total control of the NOI and make sure that it works in our favor.
So, I mean, I'm not surprised to hear you say this, but it's kind of still a little bit hard for me to believe, in the sense of, after being the 2-time national apartment owner, the operator of the year, and then you said you've gotten substantially better in operations over the last 5 years. It's like, wow, okay. I mean,
I think the last year I'm a whole other animal. I
okay.
really believe that. I think as if I just had like this caterpillar moment, right, where you turn into this brand new I mean, where I was a butterfly before, I'm a Terminator now. And I mean that because you have to go cold. It's got to be cold like that. I've asked people to leave the business that were part of the business for a while, but could no longer do what I needed them to do. Never mind it, you know, chance after chance after chance. I've had to make tough decisions on people. You know, we today, you know, we lost somebody very critical to us that has been with me for a while. And honestly, it's the first time I'm thinking about it since it happened, because it's like, I've got to move forward. It's either you or me. And I need to have competency and success at every level. So as I've been able to pull back, I'm able to go and be a part of every department. Like the portfolio, you know, you're bringing on 100+ people back. You take what you can get. So I had people that were in positions that weren't really qualified or weren't the best choice, but I had no other choice. So I'm having to supplement. That's why we stayed so late so many nights. It's because we're subsidizing their effort. Now that we're at a point to where we're distributing again, now I can go back and dissect every person in the business. I'm like, okay, are they really the person to get me to the next year? Or are they just good enough to get me out of, you know, the boiling pot? And I think that's what it is. You've got everybody's constantly on review, everybody. And I think Jason has witnessed it himself. You know, he's seen like, wow, the expectation level has just risen dramatically. And it all comes with confidence, right? You're more confident in yourself. I mean, think about it. I was able to pull 4,600 units back overnight. That means you had to do the management agreements. Wow. You had to get the insurance set up. You had to get payroll set up. You know, you had to do all these things. In reality, it's my 3rd time starting a management company. The first time with my partner in 2007, the second time I did it in 2011. And now the 3rd time, when I had given management away, I brought it back. You know, it's like, you know how to do it. It's like riding a bike. But when you know your neck's on the line, and what I mean my neck on the line, I mean my children's neck on the line. That's their future. You know, I built a portfolio up. I've made tens of millions of dollars for myself, and it's now in jeopardy if I don't fix it. That's their financial future, you know, and it's very important. So I've cut back my personal expenses. I've made sure that I'm liquid as I can, so I can make sure that I can, you know, lend whatever property I can. I've done things this last 12 months that I've never done before because I never had to do that. So you get to a level of digging deep in yourself, but you know, again, it's like, I'm going to leave you with this. I'm the guy that was struggling in 07, 08. I'm now that guy, and I've got to get out of that. So I'm very happy that we've been refinancing our deals and getting them out of danger, protecting the equity, starting from a new basis. Yeah, nobody's happy about it, but this is where we're at today. I'm doing my best to keep the ship above water. Now we're here, so I plugged all the boats. Now we got to start over. And you know, if you believe in me, we're going to continue to do that. And then at the same time, battling hurricanes. You know, we had a storm. Jason, remember we had a storm like a month ago. This is the exact same. It was like a tune-up for what we were doing. We pulled out the checklist, and we had all the things that we had done before with the cooling stations, the tree trimming, the vendors. You know, I'm very excited that, you know, where others would have to rely on insurance to get stuff done, we've done a lot of things in-house to bring our costs down and to keep that money in here. And I have an expression: I'm not here to build anybody else's business but this business. So I don't like sending money out to a third-party vendor. We've cut third-party vendors probably by 80% since we took over away from RPM, because I want my guys to do it. And in the beginning, they were lazy. They didn't want to do it. These are guys that another company had hired, and they're like, oh no, you don't have to worry about paint. Oh no, you don't have to worry about this. We use someone else. Like, I'm not here to build that business. I'm here to build this business. At Rockstar, you will paint units, you will pick up trash, you're gonna do everything. The only thing we're not gonna do is we're gonna outsource pest control, we're gonna outsource carpet, and we're gonna outsource the landscaping. Other than that, we're gonna do it in-house.
That's good. That's really good. You mentioned refinancing, Robert. Could you explain or maybe unpack that process a little bit for everybody and how it fits strategically and what you guys have been doing the last year or two?
Right. So back when I got started, the idea was to buy a value add play. We buy a deal that's struggling, that's distressed, whether it's operationally or whatever the deal, whatever the situation is. We inject capital, we improve processes, we do a renovation, all for the point of being able to increase customer service, improve resident retention, and raise rents. Both of those two positively affect the NOI. What's occurred in this, what it's basically a reset, is that insurance doubled on us in 1 year. So where I was paying like, I don't know, $800 a door, $700 a door, I was paying $1,400 a door the next year. So that's, if you take $700 a door times 100 units, that's $70,000 a year. What is that? $70,000 divided by a 6 cap. I just lost $1.166 million of valuation overnight, and I didn't do anything wrong.
Yep.
Now taxes go up again, same situation there. Oh shit, now labor's up. The same guy that was $20 an hour is now $25 an hour because of inflation. All my supplies are more expensive. So everything went up except income. Rent did not go up. And so that was the situation we found ourselves in. Oh, and by the way, the valuation now is different. Let's say you had a deal, right, that was worth $20 million, and the cap rate changed 1%. So instead of you being a 5 cap, it's now a 6 cap. We lost like millions of dollars in that change. What was it, Jay? From 20 million down to 13 million?
Yeah, about that.
So when the interest rates go up and the cap rates move with it, you've done nothing wrong. Your deal is just worth less. And that's exactly what happened in 2007, 2008. I was buying deals at 24,000 a door, 15,000 a door, 27, 28,000 a door. But when the guy I bought it from was buying the deal, he was paying 40 or 50 a door. And that's what's happened now. We have deals that we paid 90, 100,000 a door that all of a sudden now are worth 70 a door. And we didn't do anything wrong, except the way that the valuation has changed. So that has been our situation the last year and a half, is going through and managing that. And what can we do? Obviously, nobody should sell a deal in that situation. If they're selling a deal, it's because they have to do it. See, you don't have a distressed deal. You have a distressed seller because he has bad terms on his loan. The deal is fine, but you have a distressed seller. And so that's what's occurring with it. We're having to come up with these NOI boosters, rental income minus expenses is NOI. We're having to find these NOI boosters to help us grow, to help us find income that we didn't have before. And that's why I say I'm a better operator today. I know, when you run deals long enough, nobody can bullshit you. Nobody can tell you that they can't turn units fast enough. Nobody can tell you this can't be done because you've done it. I've done it for 17 years. I know what can be done and what can't be done. I had to become a finance expert overnight, because when things are in your favor, I relied on my sales and my marketing skills. But overnight, financing is out the window. You've got to get finance professionals that understand, okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's what we can do. And it's a completely different market today.
So as far as NOI boosters are concerned, one of the primary drivers of that limiting the amount of vendors that you were bringing on and just doing more things with your in-house?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we did was we're able to I'll give you a couple of them. One of them was keeping it in-house. I don't want to build somebody else's business. I don't want to rely on a paint company or some other company. I want my guys to do it. If my guys can't do it, then I got the wrong guy. I got a guy that's lazy, that's inefficient, because back in the day, we can do all this in-house. So you can't bullshit me and tell me that you
Yeah.
can't do it. I mean, you can't do it, but somebody else can. So that was one NOI booster. Another one was simple stuff. Like we used to kind of look the other way with people giving us money orders and checks in the office instead of using the online payment. I don't do that anymore. I say, okay, if you're going to make me stop what I'm doing and deposit your money, then I'm going to charge you stupid tax. And that stupid tax is $20 per check or money order. It costs my team money to stop what they're doing and do this for you. So if you want to pay for that privilege, that's going to be $20. We do a lot of staff sharing right now. Right now, where to try to cut labor down, I'll hire a manager. Instead of paying her $60,000 a year, I'll pay her $70,000 or $75,000 a year. And she's like, "Wow, okay, but you're going to manage these two properties that are right next to each other." Okay, I can do that. And then you tell them, "Okay, you're going to show me if you have the ability to do this, because that means you can become a regional." And every property management professional's dream is to become a regional. They don't want to be in the manager chair. They want to grow within the company. So, but when I can pay them $75,000, I can now split that manager salary on two properties.
Yep.
So 32,500 here, 32,500 here, instead of 60,000 all one property, right? Which means my expenses go down and my NOI for both deals goes up. Jason, what are a couple other ones that we've done on the NOI boosters?
Do you want to talk about the deposit alternative?
Well, why don't you explain it?
Yeah, so a lot of times when a resident moves in, letting people collect a security deposit, right? That's very standard. But a security deposit really goes on the balance sheet. It's a liability. It's something that you may have to return back to the resident. And so what we are offering is what we call a deposit alternative fee. So instead of you paying us a refundable deposit, we can instead waive that and offer you the ability to pay a non-refundable fee just every month. And for a lot of residents, that can help because it just is less money that they have to come up with up front. And when they actually do the math, it actually can be a little bit less out of pocket that they're paying.
Yeah, because think about it, they're gonna, we charge 1 month's rent. Thank you, Jason. We charge 1 month's rent. Let's say $1,200. But you don't want to spend $1,200. You want to keep your cash. You're willing to spend $28 a month as a deposit alternative. So, Trevor, help me with the math here. What's $28 for that resident times 12?
28 times 12 is $336.
Okay, so now that's $336 of cash flow I didn't have before, because if they give me $1,000, it would have gone to the balance sheet. Now, but it's not just cash flow, it's NOI. Take the NOI now, 336 divided by 0.06. What do you get?
$5,600.
Okay, and that's what you just paid for, everybody. Right there is that we were able to create $5,600 of new valuation per unit by, instead of charging a cash deposit, charging a deposit alternative fee. So if you have a 100-unit property, you just said $5,600. $5,600 times a 100-unit property. I just created $560,000, and I didn't do anything any different except change the process. Now, if you go to a bigger property, like a 200-unit property, my average property is 200 units, 560 times 2, that's over $1 million.
Yep.
So I think that is what I'm saying. I'm a better operator today. When you know that you have to find a way to win, to stay alive, stay afloat. You will get creative. You'll figure out these ways. We've got a few other ones that we've done within the portfolio, but those are the three big ones. Is being able to take advantage of the vicinity. When I buy my deals, I don't just buy them randomly. I buy them strategically. If I buy a deal in this area, it's because I like this area. I want to buy more deals in that area. So when you're buying deals, you want to stay in the pocket. Why? Because I know the submarket.
Yeah,
I know what rents are at. I know the demographic. Eventually, when you build population there, you can control the rents. In one area, I've got like 60 to 70% of the total Class B properties in that area. So that allows me to control fees. That allows me to control rents. And then you have staff share because everybody's so close. I can send a maintenance guy there. I can send another one from another property. They help you. So you don't have to outsource it out.
That's good. That's really good. Robert, I want to open it up for Q&A here in a couple of
Yes.
minutes, but I stay in touch with everything you have going on. I think the last email update I got from you guys was y'all completed y'all's pref equity raise. I think that was it. I think it would be cool if you could explain what exactly a pref equity raise is and how that fit into what you guys are doing currently right now.
Yeah. So what a preferred equity raise is, it's a additional sum of money that you need. Well, when we were trying to refinance these deals, I had deals that were 8, 9%, 8.5 to 9% interest because they were floating. So I
Okay.
have to get out of that. I've got to refinance right now. But when we refinanced, the valuations had changed. So we didn't have enough money to pay back the original loan. Or if we
Okay.
did, we didn't have enough money to put reserves in, or put money for a construction project. So I went to the investors and I said, hey, we need to raise some money. And again, this is a very scary market. My deal is not the only deal they're in. I also haven't distributed cash in a year, so there's a little bit of loss of confidence. So I said we need to come up with three. What was it? I think on one deal, 1.3 million. On another deal, it was like 2.3 million or something like that. And so I said, okay, guys. Well, per the operating agreement, if we cannot do our own cash call, which again, growing up in this business last 15 years, that was like the death nail if you had to do a
Yeah.
cash call. But I think people understand in today's market, you saw the Fed increase interest rates by 5.5% in 22 months, something that's never happened in the history of the Federal Reserve. So I got caught there. Everybody got caught. That's why I think it was a big reset. The banks got caught. Banks don't like to get caught.
Yeah.
So what they do is they either go under, or they say, hey, we need to call your loan. And you get pressure from the bank. Hey, you need to get out of this loan. We got to get this loan off our books
Wow.
before our next auditor meeting. So that forces me to go to the investors. We got to refinance right now. We're going to be short proceeds because it's not valued at a 5 cap anymore. It's now valued at a 6 or 6.25. So if the investors don't want to raise cash, I have to go to outside investors to raise cash. Okay.
Yep.
And so in one case, was it Jason 1.3 or 1.6? I forgot.
About 1.3.
1.3 on one deal. And on that deal, we decided that we would do a 10% pref, meaning that if you put money into that deal in 90 days, I'm going to pay you the annualized return of 10%. And you were going to cut in front of the common class A investors. So you're going to be sandwiched between the lender and the investors. You will get that 10% one way or another, whether it comes from cash flow or it comes from eating the investor's equity up. Similar to, I charge 80-20 on my promote, right? I would take 20%. It's the same thing, except you cut in front of me. You cut in front of everybody. It's a preferred class of investor. So we were able to raise it pretty quickly. Well, I say that it was very slow. 1.3 million took better part of what, Jay, 60 days to do?
Yeah.
Yeah, people were very scared, but
for 2 deals at the same time. Yeah.
Right. And it took a while. Then we had the other one that we had 2.6. I decided I've got to raise the equity on it. I've got to make it more attractive. I thought 10% was enough. It wasn't enough. I raised it to 14. The other 4% is coming out of my pocket.
Wow.
And I told the investors that. I go, I'm going to limit you guys at 10, but I'll take the hit. That 4% that I need on the 2.6, I'll take out of my share. So we just had our first call on that. I have to write a check out. I've got to write a check to people on this, right? But we got that one raised in about half the time. So I found the sweet spot. It's 14-15%.
Okay.
And I think about this, man. If I were to cash out and take my tens of millions of dollars and I'm liquid, and Jay says he's doing a 14% pref, here, Jay, here's $2 million. Send me $280,000 this year at 14%. And that's how people should be looking at this. Some people got that message. I think it was just new because I've never done that before in my investing career. My investors were not aware of it, but I think now it's starting to become very common with other deals. So you have to do whatever it takes to get the deal across the finish line. So the investors don't want to pony up. I get that. And they don't want to get diluted. They're afraid. Okay, great.
Yeah.
We're just going to bring a new class of investor in. They're going to cut in front of you. They're going to get, in this case, 14%, in the other case, 10%, and they're going to get paid first. If there's any money left, we'll pay the investors. So I told the investor, like, I'm going to put money into this because I'm not stupid, right? Because I'm going to cut in front of everybody else, like anybody that can do this.
For sure.
And some people figured that out right away, and so other ones still didn't understand it. I think when they start seeing these checks go out to people that are not them, they're going to realize real quick, like, oh wow, I need to, what do you call it, middle up or hedge my bets. $500,000 over here. Let me go and put another 100,000 here so I can at least middle up. And I'll be making 7% on my 200 instead of just 14 on that 100. I'm making money. I'll get it back. But see, so we needed that money to refinance the deal. We use that for closing costs. We use that to bridge the shortcomings of our proceeds. Never had to do that. I've done this before 15 times where I returned 100% of the money back. This is the first time I've ever had to like do a cash in refinance and put money into the deal. But it's a very protected position. And as I'm looking at it, I was telling Jay, like, Jay, man, if I ever sell this, I'm going to find all these pref equity deals that I can find and put money here, here, and here, and just go crazy on it.
Yep, definitely. That's good. Wow, that was really educational. Let's open up for some Q&A, you guys. So raise your hand when you got a question you want to fire away to the apartment rockstar, Mr. Robert Martinez. I'll get you unmuted and you can share your question. I got a couple more, Robert, but I've been taking.
No, ask me some questions. Yeah, Jason, put our contact information in the comments so people can see it, please. And where to find me. I'm all over social media, but my preferred medium is Instagram. So go to Instagram at Apartment Rockstar. I've got all kinds of videos there. Go to YouTube. I put a lot up there on YouTube.
All right, Judy, thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate all your talks always.
Thank
How
you,
would one, as an investor, find where these pref equity deals are?
Yeah, just like this, me randomly talking about it in an investment club. Like, with all due respect to Trevor, right? You need to be in as many different audiences as you can. And then you need to let them know what you're doing. You got to learn how to shake hands and kiss babies. You really do. You've got to go out there and say, hey, I'm Judy. I'm an investor. The moment you say I'm an investor and you want to put money in, they're going to come on you like stink on shit. Like it's what's going to happen. And you can have your variety, your choice of money. They're going to ask, okay, well, great. How much money are you looking to put into it? Have your answer. How liquid are you? Pretty liquid. Okay. So what do you, well, I want to hear, do you have any pref equity opportunities here? And just ask them that. It's very simple. I think moving forward, when I'm buying new deals, I might actually start doing pref equities just from the start. Like, we're going to do this deal. We're going to guarantee everybody X% return and move from there. I know a lot of groups already do that. I never did that. Mine was just a straight 80-20 split. Everybody shared equally in the profits. I think it was the way to make more money for the investors then. But today, the money's a little bit tighter. And we need to think about shorter investment horizons, like 3 to 5 years. And so if you tell somebody you're going to do 8% pref for 3 to 5 years, you can do the math. 8% times 5, that's 40% return. Does that work for you? And if it does, you do the deal. If it doesn't, you don't do the deal. So I think investors, when they say there's a buyer's market and a seller's market, I think right now it is an investor's market. I think passive investor, you have your choice of where to go. So I would further add that, just because someone says they're going to do it doesn't mean they're going to do it. Right? They're saying whatever they can to save their deal right now. So what is their track record of returning capital? What is their track record of doing that? There's other groups that I know that don't have a very good track record of returning cash, and they're doing 15, 16%. But shit, how do you know you're going to get that? How do you know that, the other side says if the deal gets foreclosed on, you get nothing. Right? And so you want to make sure, what is this money being used for? And you need to agree to it. Okay, well, I'm going to refinance. Okay, good. So you're going to refinance. Yes. What's your new loan going to be? Okay, cool. So you're paying me this. What are you going to do with my money? Well, I'm going to pay the difference in the loan dollars that I don't have. I'm going to put some money to pay some bills away, put some money in reserve, and then we're going to do a mini renovation to on a few units to test the waters and get rent up. Okay, cool. And then what is the exit plan? Well, I want to be out. We're getting a 5-year loan. We're going to go from 8.5% down to 5.6%. So we're going to see some real cash flow, because you want to make sure, where's my money going to come from?
Yeah.
right? And if you see on the debt service, like on the one deal we're looking at right now that we're going to refinance, our largest deal, City Crossing, we're going to go, and Jay, correct me, we're going to go from 8.5% plus in that range down to like 5.6, 5.7. And I think the monthly debt service that we're going to save is $70,000,
Yeah,
which is a big
or
number.
better. Yeah, probably even closer to 80 once we get the final. Yeah.
So if Judy were to do this deal and say, hey, Judy, I'm going to do a 10% pref on this, and the pref is like $3 million, right? But I'm making 80,000 times 12, that's 960. I clearly have enough money to pay your pref.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you got to look at it. Like, where's my pref going to come from?
That's
And
good.
you will get all the attention up front. But once they got your money, Judy, they got your money. You got to make sure that you're comfortable and that you feel good about it. What we're doing to make sure is that, because some of my deals are distributing, other ones aren't, and then two of them are doing on this pref. I count the pref as one of the properties that's distributing, except that I'm distributing to the pref, not to the investors. And I tell them, here's where it's at, because I want them to feel comfortable with me. And I said, listen, you should join me and get in that pref. So because what's going to happen is if you're in the deal and you don't want to put cash into it, and Jason comes in and he puts, $200,000 in, and he's getting 10%, he's going to get $20,000 divided by 12, right? And we pay ours quarterly, so he's getting 3 months worth of it. You're going to feel ugly inside that Jason's getting money. He hasn't even been a part of this deal, and you were in it for the last 3 years. But he's the angel investor. He's the rescue capital. So he's earned that right. So there's a lot of deals like that. If you go to any real estate club, people are going to be pitching. I promise you, there's going to be lots of deals like that. Now, let me tell you the negative to this. There is no depreciation on a pref debt. It's just straight cash. Okay. The second part to it is, if you're making more money than the 10%, you don't get that. You only make the 10%. So on the pref that we're doing, we're expecting to have a pretty sizable return at the end of the 5 years. So even though I pay the pref debt, the preferred class of investor, the 10% of the 14, there should still be plenty left for the class A investors. They'll get theirs, but they're going to get theirs at the end. Where's it coming from? It's coming from increased valuation.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming from the NOI growth. You're capped. You become the lender, right? The lender's the best investor in the world because they only want their 5%, 5.5%. They don't want any of the upside. So you get none of the upside. So you just have to understand that okay, you're coming in, but you're not going to get that potential, 15, 18, 20% IRR if there's a double up in 5 or 6 years. You're just limited to whatever the number is. So that's the only negative side. And if you're okay with that, that's okay. It's still going to be cash flow. Cash flow. If that's what you want, that's what you need. I was telling a lot of investors that were in the deals, like, you got kids in college. I got a kid that's going to college, or that's going to be, or if you have a kid that's going to go to college in a few years, this is a great spot to put 50K here, making 14% for the next 3 years, 4 years. That's a nice, healthy return. That's going to grow really, really nice.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that answers your question, Judy. Thank you for asking.
Thanks, Judy. Really great question. Ladies and gentlemen, we have time for one more question for Robert. So who would like to take the last spot here before we wrap up our Zoom tonight? If nobody raised their hand, Robert, I'm going to ask the last question.
Please.
All right, going once, going twice. Okay, I'm curious about what you see in the market, as we move to the last half of 2024 and into 2025. I know we heard, blood on the streets, these kind of things. And I feel like that's been the mantra for the last year and a half or two. But it seems like there's been just a lot of mechanisms that have been employed for people just to survive. I mean, we heard some of those tonight from you. So what is it looking like for the remainder of 2024 and into 2025?
Look, people are resilient. And if you know the difference between you dying and you surviving is coming up with a plan, you'll come up with a plan. I think this is very similar to 2008-9. You will have bank failures. They've really seen a few more coming. Banks need to get this off their balance sheet. Some banks are in worse shape than others. The banks that we have, they gave us extensions. They didn't want the deals back. we hit our maturity. So people thought, oh, all these deals are coming to maturity. You're going to be this flood of deals. No, the lender knows that they may not get loan value. And so they're on your side now. They want to be made whole. So they're willing to extend it, especially if you're a good borrower to them. You have other deals. It's a little bit of, remember back in the day, Donald Trump had all those deals, and they said that he was too big to fail. And so he got all these extensions and opportunities. It's kind of the same thing, except that we're all Donald Trump together. So they don't want the deals back. If they're taking a deal back, it's because they don't like you as an operator. They've lost confidence in you. Jason's been with me every single deal that we've been able to refinance. They extended it. We hit our maturity. We missed it by 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. But because we have our operating cash with them on other deals, because we have loans with them, they know we're trying. We're communicative. They work with you. Jason and I were chasing a deal the other day in one of the choice markets that we like, and the guy's running at 70%. And he's struggling, and they foreclosed on him.
Wow.
And they're willing to sell it, right? So don't give them a reason to not be on your side. Pay your and if you can't pay, then talk to them, explain to them, tell them what's going on. So I think that's been the number one thing. People become very resilient. This pref offerings, when I first got introduced, I guess in 2023. You could do a 10, 12% private pref with one of the big companies. Now they're asking 18%, right? Or 20%. Harbor Group was one of the biggest groups out there. They're like an 18% coupon. And that absolutely destroys the deal. It's too expensive to make the deal work. But that, when you're in control, they can do that. So I don't think we're going to see the bloodbath because it looks like the Fed's about to lower rates. The moment that they stopped increasing, it gave the market a chance to breathe. Because it seemed like the Fed was just increasing and not thinking twice about it. No matter what was coming out of the devil's mouth, he was just raising it. He didn't care what was going on. And I think when they started slowing down, you started to see the stock market starting to increase. You started finding guys a chance to breathe. And they were 1 second. I got to open up the garage. Sorry about that. My fiance is getting home. You started, the market got a chance to breathe. People started to strategize a little bit. If rates go down, and it looks like it's going to happen in September.
September, you said?
That's gonna provide more relief. The banks are going to get more comfortable because as the rates come down, their requirements go down too. See, it's very subjective. Nothing has happened to the deal. The deal is the same.
Yeah.
Except it's subjective to what it's worth today. To me, it was worth 5%, but Jay's a new investor. He's like, nope, I'm going to pay 6%. That's what I'm going to have. And it's like, well, but it's worth 5. No, it's not. It was worth 5 2 years ago, but it's not worth like this today. So it's like, it's like collecting collectibles, right? You bought a comic book. To you is worth $1,000, but now the market's gone the wrong direction and it's only worth 500. Or you bought a rookie card of a LeBron, you bought into the hype of some special, card, and all of a sudden, the baseball card is worth less because it's subjective. I say that because I started watching that show on Netflix, King of Collectibles. Such a fun show. Jason, do you watch that one? Jason, you should watch it. There's 2 seasons. It's called King of Collectibles. I think you would love it. But it's subjective. And as the Fed moves rates up and down, it changes the valuation. We're real fortunate that our insurance dropped from like, I don't know, what was it, $1,700-$1,800 a door down to $1,300 a door. So that gave us some relief. This hurricane scares me because, what's damage going to be like, but we're doing our best to not put anything on insurance to show that, hey, because the way insurance works, everybody, they have a premium against you. And it's not one insurance, it's layered. There's multiple people, and they will take a piece of that. You don't want to tap that. If you tap that, it looks like they're not going to make any money. You still want them to make money on your policy. You don't want to have any claims. That's why our rates went down this year, because we had very few claims last year. So if you don't tap it, it shows that you're responsible, and they have less argument to raise your rates up.
Yeah, makes sense. Outstanding. Robert, I want to grab a picture before we conclude our Zoom tonight and throw it up on social media and tag you. Is that all right?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Let me get you in here. All right. 1, 2, 3. All right. Outstanding. And I encourage you all to do the same. Grab a screenshot or a snapshot and throw it on social media. Make sure you tag the Apartment Rockstar and show him some appreciation for taking time out of his evening and spending it with the Freedom Chasers. Robert, thank you again. The time always flies. I mean, we're an hour and 20 minutes in, and we thank you so
Wow.
much for your time. And again, just all the knowledge that you have shared with us tonight. Thank you for being, again, so transparent with your experiences and just your perseverance, right? And willing to share your positive experiences and also negative ones and lessons learned for our benefit and our journey in the multifamily space. So
You're welcome,
we really
Trevor. Thank you
appreciate
to
that.
you and your community and everybody for having me on. It's an honor to be here with you guys and be able to share what we're doing so that I can hopefully help everybody else as well. I'd like to let you to invite you to follow us at Apartment Rockstar. A lot of free stuff, a lot of free content that wasn't around when I got started in 07. Follow us there on YouTube, Apartment Rockstar. And one final thing, please pray for our nation. What occurred this weekend was horrific. And by the grace of God, we're not having a different conversation today. I think that was divine what happened this weekend. And I'm blessed for that because I think, again, our nation doesn't need that kind of disaster right now. So encourage all of you to go out there and vote and express your opinions. And don't anybody hold you down. We all have a right to choose. And we all have a right to voice our opinion. So thank you guys for everything. If I can help you in any way, please contact Jason at investing@rockstar-capital.com, and he'll put you in touch with me if we need to have a meeting.
Outstanding. And Robert, I understand you're throwing an event in
Hey,
September.
are you coming to my events, Trevor?
I'm not sure at the moment, but I
Man.
definitely want to make sure the community knows. At least it's on their radar right now. Do you know the dates off the top of your head?
Jason, do you have some details on the events?
Yes,
Okay,
so
yes.
this will be September 25th through the 27th. For this particular event, it is going to be catered a little bit more toward those who are operating a few units already. But we are considering maybe doing one that is a bit more beginner focused, potentially later this year. So if you are interested in attending any of our events, still fill out the form on the webpage just so that we have your contact information and we know that you're interested, and we'll certainly reach out to you once we have more details.
So do me a favor, Trevor. I want to do a deal for you guys because you guys were nice enough to host me. I don't know what Jason charges for this. I try to focus on the operation. I let Jay run the education. But Jay, anybody that has deals, this is for operators that have at least one deal. Because I want to have a different kind of conversation with everybody. But if you have at least one deal, and one deal is 5 units or greater, that's an apartment deal. If you have at least one deal and you want to come, I'll knock it off. I'll knock the price down by 50% for right now. That's a 48-hour offer only. So Trevor, if you put that through your group for your team, I want to fill up my office. I have credit at a larger venue that I would love to use up, but until then, I'm going to keep doing it in my office. So you guys, 48 hours. To take advantage of a 50% off, contact Jason directly at investing@rockstar-capital.com, and he'll hook you up with the Freedom Boys discount.
Outstanding. And Jason, we can touch base offline and make sure that gets disseminated out to everybody.
Sure.
Thank you, Robert. That's very generous of you. Jason, thanks for being here as well and helping me kind of run point on the back end here too.